These are some really weird times in the Raleigh housing market. Sellers think it's a massive seller market and they hold all the cards. Buyers think it's market's about to crash and that they hold all the cards and it's turning into a buyer's market. And when in actuality, it's getting to be more of a balanced market, and those of us that sell real estate are pretty happy about it. That being said, a lot of people just really don't know how to handle this market, and they're making a lot of really giant mistakes. Hello everyone, this is Chris Morton, real estate broker with the Morton Bradbury Real Estate Group in Raleigh, North Carolina. And as we say, buyers and sellers are both making some pretty major mistakes right now. So let's get started with mistakes that sellers are making. The number one mistake sellers are making right now, and unfortunately, sellers have always made this mistake, that is thinking their home is special and unique and one of a kind. I can't tell you how many listing appointments I've been on where the seller has told me their home is worth $100,000 more than what it really actually should be priced at, because they have a very unique blend and version of linoleum floor, or their brick is one of a kind in the Raleigh market that they have on their home. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Buyers don't look at your house as being particularly unique based on certain features you may have, like your countertops or the type of windows you have. There's really not a tremendous amount of value that you would gain for putting in a solar, for example, or special windows or that sort of thing. Just know that you need to be expecting that your home is going to be worth what your home is worth when you put your home on the market. Unfortunately, right now, it's almost doubled down on this, because not only do people think their home is special because they have brand new windows, but they think their home is special because there's just not that much inventory right now, and there's been that demand that's been going on for the last couple years, and sellers are slow to realize that there's not that much demand out there now that there was back in 2021 or early 2022. Next mistake sellers are making: rejecting showings. So this kind of goes along with that arrogance I just talked about, where they think their home is special. Sellers are rejecting showings because it doesn't fit into their schedule, or they're busy. Maybe with the holidays here, they're kind of busy and not really wanting to be having people come in their home. Please know, as I say to my potential sellers that I'm about to list their home, please know all showings are precious objects. They're like diamonds. Some may be a diamond you want to own. Some of them may be cubic zirconium. We don't know. But you need to respect every one of these showings as if it was the last showing that you're going to ever get on your home. And you need to be not declining those showings if you can help it. Absolutely understand there are two ways you can sell a house if you're about to sell your house. There's the comfortable, easy, smooth, wonderful, warm, and cuddly way, and that's called taking 3 to 4 months to sell. Or there's the rip it off the band-aid painful kind, and that's where you have showings that happen at midnight. Your house is perfectly looking good, everything is great, and you accept all people coming into the house to make an offer, and you do all you can to encourage an offer. And that takes usually a relatively short period of time. So this segues into the next mistake that sellers are making. That is, they're not keeping up their home when those showings are happening. So they have accepted the showing. Maybe they've declined 5 or 6 before that, but they accepted this showing. Unfortunately, their home looks like a bomb went off. Just took a client this past week to see a home. The pictures were very deceiving. The pictures online showed a house that was actually clean. Instead, there was dirty socks everywhere. There was food on the dining room table. It looked like the zombie apocalypse had happened and people had to get out of this house quickly to save their brains. I mean, literally, it was that bad. It looked like they had just vacated 2 minutes ago, and I know that wasn't the case because I tried their mashed potatoes and they were cold. No, I'm just kidding. We did not do that. No, it just, the house was a wreck, complete disaster, could not see anything beyond it. I have been selling real estate 18 years. I have the ability to look beyond clutter and garbage. I couldn't do it in this house. It was not possible. It was a disaster area, and it was also about $100,000 overpriced. And so my buyer said, we're not even going to bother trying to negotiate this house because these people are going to be unreasonable because the house was a mess and the price was a mess. So just know that if you're planning on selling your home, keep your house looking tidy. And did I mention overpricing your home? So there's your other mistake that sellers are making. They think the market is just as hot as it was back at the beginning of 2022. Just a hint, it's not. And they're overpricing their home. They're pricing in anticipation of where they think the buyer is going to finally land on an offer price. All you're doing is scaring off the buyer. That house that I just told you about that was cluttered, that was probably $100,000 over asking, it's been on the market for about 115 days. On the flip side, there was a home in Cary that was priced $100,000 less than this clutter home. It went live on Wednesday. Today is Friday that we're filming this. They're having multiple offers already they've announced, and the deadline for the offers to get in, if you wanted to make an offer, was 5 o'clock today. So literally, this house has been on the market 52 hours, something to that effect. This house was well priced. It's probably I know it's gonna go over asking price. It was clean, orderly, organized, staged well, photos look good, everything looked great about the house. They didn't make the mistakes that the zombie apocalypse clutter house made. So know that if you are going to sell your house in this day and age, do not price it where you think it's going to land as a final offer price. Price it where it should land when your agent does the comparables on the recent sales, and adjust accordingly to that. You're going to scare off a lot less buyers doing that. You're going to end up getting most likely a higher price than what you're asking for versus leaving it on the market a while and getting a much lower price. The next mistake sellers are making, they're refusing to do repairs. So you finally get an offer on your house, and then the buyers do an inspection report. They get an inspection done and present you with an inspection report, and you say, no, we're not doing any repairs. What you're doing when you do that, when you're not willing to make any repairs, you're causing some animosity among the buyer. If the buyer is in the least bit concerned about this home, maybe the repairs that are suggested from the inspection report are really big, like need to replace the hot water heater, need to replace heating and air system, need to replace the roof, it may be worth their while to terminate this transaction. And that's going to leave you with a lot of problems. We'll talk about those problems later on in this video, but please, whatever you do, understand that you should not refuse all repairs. You should come to the negotiating table with the buyers, try to negotiate out those repairs, keep everybody thinking win-win so you can get yourself to the ultimate goal, which is getting your house sold. The next big mistake we're seeing sellers make right now, sitting on the sidelines waiting for the spring to come. Typically, the most homes are sold in our market in the spring months. That is last week of February through the second week of June. That's the period of time when the most homes are sold in the Raleigh marketplace. That sounds like a really great time to get your home sold. There's a lot of buyers out there. There's a lot of people looking to buy homes. And yes, that is the case. However, selling in the winter is also and could potentially be an even better time to sell. There's very low inventory, lower than normal, and normal in the last couple of years has been terrible. So now it's multiple levels of terrible as far as inventory goes. So you've got low competition. If your home looks good, staged well, priced well, all the stuff that we recommend our sellers do, it's very likely you're going to get your home sold with the few buyers that are circulating out there. Because look, let's face it, if you got a buyer that's looking to buy a home right now, they're not just out looking around in the winter because they enjoy looking at homes. They're looking at homes because they need to buy a home or they desperately want to buy a home. Give them a product to buy, your home. Everybody's going to end up happy. And really, just to summarize then the mistakes that sellers are making, the biggest mistake sellers are making right now is being arrogant. Don't be arrogant when people are looking to buy your home and you're looking to sell your home. Be humble, be aggressive, be doing all that you can do to get your home sold. Don't be arrogant thinking that your home is this amazing, one-of-a-kind home and it deserves to be priced at $1 million when it really should probably be priced at $125,000. Don't be arrogant. Be thinking win-win with the buyers and you're going to get the ultimate reward, which is getting your house sold. Next up, let's talk about the mistakes buyers are making. So the number one mistake buyers are making right now, sitting on the sidelines waiting until the spring market happens. So yes, the spring market is when the most amount of homes are available to buy for you if you're looking to buy a home. Unfortunately, during that spring market, when the most amount of homes are out there, you've also got the most amount of buyers out there. You're going to be competing with multiple people to buy multiple homes. Unfortunately, I don't anticipate in the spring there's going to be just this treasure trove, giant amount of homes out there. I think there's going to be a lot of competition for what's out there. So if you're ready, willing, and able to buy a home right this minute in the winter, now's the time to start looking. You may find the perfect home for you. And if you do, the good news is you're not going to have a whole lot of competition likely for that home. You're going to be able to be out and get that home and be happy before your friends who are waiting until the spring can find their dream home, and they might have to fight others and pay over asking price for it. That's not something you necessarily are probably going to have to do right now. The next mistake that we're seeing buyers make right now, huge mistake, paying too much for due diligence. Do not, just because you maybe have heard that you have to pay due diligence and it's got to be competitive, don't feel like it necessarily needs to be $50,000, $100,000, $25,000 that we saw back in the beginning of 2022 or in 2021. You simply don't have to pay that right now, especially if you're the only offer. It's not necessary. Make a due diligence offer of $5,000, $10,000, which is still really good money. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to downplay it, but it sure as heck isn't $50,000, $100,000. Pay a decent due diligence. The worst thing that's going to happen is that seller's going to come back and negotiate and ask you for more due diligence money. By not paying that due diligence, that's money you're not necessarily going to forfeit should you have to terminate that contract, and that's going to be a very good thing for you, because you're going to have more money in your pocket when you go have to look for the next home. The next mistake we're seeing buyers make, not doing a home inspection. Please, whatever you do, even if the seller says they're not willing to do any repairs on the front end, and they tell you that, and you still buy the house anyway, please get that home inspection done. It may be that you're sitting on a home that has structural issues, has foundation problems, cracking, it has the heating and air system out, it has a roof out. That right there in Raleigh, North Carolina is going to be $40,000, $50,000, no matter what the home is. Obviously, the bigger home, you're gonna have to spend more than that. So $40,000, $50,000 is a big amount of money to have to swallow to buy that home. If that home is not worth paying that much down, you need to terminate the transaction if they're not willing to do repairs. Obviously, you're going to want to ask those sellers, are you sure you don't want to do repairs? Because I'm going to have to terminate. Don't ever not do an inspection. Always know what you're getting yourself into one way or the other. And that segues into the next mistake buyers are making, that is not asking for repairs. Back in the olden days of 2021, early 2022, a lot of times you couldn't ask for repairs. You had to just take the home that you were given, because the seller would gladly terminate your transaction and sell it to someone else. Now is not that way. Now there's less competition out there. You should be asking for repairs if there's some. Don't be shy about it. The seller should have, we always recommend, seller should have done a pre-listing inspection, and that way they knew what they were getting themselves into as far as when they go to sell their home, they know what kind of repairs would be asked for. But most sellers don't do that, unfortunately. So they may be a little shell-shocked and surprised when you come at them and tell them they need a new heating and air system. I have a client, an agent on our team who has a client who we had to go to the seller and say, hey, we need $8,000 heating and air system because your system's on its last leg. It took a lot of back and forth. We finally was able to secure that system for our buyers. Everybody's happy now, but had the buyers not been willing to push back on the seller when they said, no, we really don't want to replace out the system, if they had not pushed back, they would have had to pay that $8,000 down the road. Not good, not good at all. And another really egregious mistake we're seeing that buyers make right now is sitting on the sidelines and renting. If you are waiting for the market to crash, it is, again, unlikely, we've said in many videos, it's unlikely that we're going to have a market crash, maybe a soft correction, but not a market crash. Do not be sitting on the sidelines renting. You're paying someone else's mortgage by renting, especially if you're ready, willing, and able to buy a home. Go ahead and get in the home of your dreams. Yes, your interest rate may be a little higher than what you were hoping for, but it's certainly possible in the state of North Carolina to refinance that interest rate down the road as soon as rates come down, and they will come back down eventually. Go ahead and get in your home, refinance when you can, stop paying someone else's mortgage by renting. You're going to be better off. Your landlord won't be better off, but you'll be better off. And so there's some mistakes that sellers and buyers are making, but there's a really giant elephant in the room that we need to talk about for people that maybe haven't really experienced or thought about it. We've talked about it a little bit in this video, and that is the consequences to both the buyer and the seller for terminating a contract after you've already gone under contract. So for the buyer, what are the consequences for terminating a contract? Let's say those repairs came back outrageously high, seller's not willing to do anything, and you need to terminate. What are the consequences? Well, if you terminate before the due diligence date, you're going to forfeit your due diligence money. That's another reason we say don't put $50,000, $100,000 into due diligence, because you're not going to get that money back. That money goes to the seller. The seller keeps that money and can go on and relist that home. So that is a major negative consequence for a buyer. They're going to be out that amount of money, whatever it is. If you terminate after the due diligence date, you're going to be losing not only your due diligence money, but your earnest money deposit as well. That's the money that the attorney holds in escrow until closing time. Now, incidentally, as we've remind everyone many times, I'll do it again here. If you do not terminate, please know the due diligence money and the earnest money go towards your down payment. So if you did buying a $100,000 house, say you did a $5,000 due diligence and $5,000 earnest money, that means at the time of closing, you need to come up with $90,000. Most people do that by financing, but you get the idea. That money goes as part of your down payment. So those are the negative consequences for buyers if they terminate. They're obviously going to be out money, and they're going to have less money in their pocket when they go buy their second home or take their second stab at buying a home. But as far as sellers go, what are the consequences? A lot of sellers are a bit arrogant, and they don't think there's very many consequences for them terminating. But unfortunately, especially in this market when things are not moving as quickly and there's not as many buyers out there looking, unfortunately there are some negative consequences for the seller. The number one is when you relist that home, any good real estate agent that's helping a buyer is going to ask your agent, why did the home come back on the market? And your agent is obligated to let them know. If that home came back on the market because there's a lot of repairs, say the house needs a roof and you refuse to do the roof, those buyers are going to have to be told, the new buyers, that they are responsible for putting on, say, a $15,000 roof. A lot of people don't really get excited about having to cough up $15,000 as soon as they move into their brand new home, finding out it's not all that brand new. So know that you're going to have to disclose the inspection, whatever information you've received, including those major repairs and the minor stuff. So likely the best advice I can give you if you terminate is be prepared on that second time to be willing to cough up some money to do repairs or give allowances for things like that roof or heating and air or even minor electrical stuff like that. Go ahead and get that done before you relist the home. Bottom line, sellers very rarely make as much money or more money the second time they have to list their home. So understand, if you terminate that first transaction, it may not be in your best interest because you may end up making even less money down the road. Again, you're going to have to put the home back on the market. Your days on market is going to start accruing again. And really, because of in the age of Zillow, where people are really watching days on market, having a high days on market is a kiss of death. Your home may have sold 7 days into it, but because it's under contract and you relist it, those days are going to continue accruing. You may end up having a 40-day days on market your second time around. That's really the kiss of death for a lot of houses. And another negative consequence for sellers, they may have to list their home at a really bad time of the year or slow time of the year. So let's say you sold your home in November, the contract terminated in middle of December. You're now having to put the home back on the market at Christmas time. A lot of people are not looking around the Christmas time. That means you're behind the 8 ball yet again to get your home sold. So bottom line, try to work things out with that first offer. You're going to be a lot further along in the end. So how do you avoid these mistakes if you're looking to buy or sell a home? First thing to do, don't get emotional. If you're buying a home, do not get emotionally attached to that home until you actually own it. If you're selling a home, know that when you put the home on the market, it is a product for sale, just like it's a car. Do not get emotionally attached and think, this is my baby, I love this home. No, your goal is to get the home sold. Act accordingly. Number two thing, buyers and sellers both need to be realistic when they buy and sell homes. Always be thinking win-win, not I'm going to get something over on the other guy. Always think win-win. Sellers need to also remember the consequences if they have to relist the home. Days on market will accrue. It's unlikely you're going to get as much money for the home. Be very aware when you go to relist the home, when you are ticking off that first buyer, know that the second buyer is not going to be as generous as that first buyer. And know that if you're a buyer, don't offer crazy amounts of due diligence money. Not necessary in this market. Offer the minimum you think you're able to offer. And if the seller wants more, they can negotiate that back and forth during all the negotiations of the offer price, closing date, all of that sort of thing. And if you're a buyer, make sure you're making that calculation. If you've put $10,000 due diligence down and you've come to find out you've got $40,000, $50,000 worth of repairs that need to be made, make the calculation. Is it really worth it to continue on with this house? You may want to terminate, move on to the next one, and cut your losses. Just something to be thinking about. So if you're considering a move either into or out of the Raleigh area, my real estate team and I would love to be your agents of choice. You can email us at hello@mortonbradbury.com. Give us a call on the number below, or there's a link in the description you can click on to get things started. Check out this video. We think you're really going to like it. Like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.